Hey everyone, welcome to One More Reaction. I'm Diva Milay.
And I'm SJ. Hey everybody, how you doing?
Good to see you guys, and we're excited to talk about this movie that everyone has been talking about. 2 months ago, it was released in the States, in America, and right now it's in Taiwan. So we thought we're gonna take this opportunity to share it with you guys. What is it called, honey?
Sound of Freedom.
Sound of Freedom. During the summer, we saw people on social media saying this is a must-see movie, you should go. And when it finally came to Taiwan, we had an organization, well, a church, one of the biggest churches in Taiwan, 101 Church, who booked an entire theater, and they've been inviting people to come see this movie for free and just all together, same cause, spreading this message and understanding what is happening, what has been happening in the world. So we got the opportunity to watch it, and let me tell you, my eyes, my mind, everything was just woken, like awakened of what's going on. And I was a wreck the whole time during the movie. We went in different times because obviously with our baby, but I just remember walking the theater, packed room, sat in the corner because I didn't want people to see me crying my eyes out. And this really nice lady, next to me, she's like, "Do you want a snack?" I didn't even know her. But what was special is, before the movie even started, the pastor of the 101 Church came up and just opened up with prayer, which was a first for me to experience. And then the movie started.
Yeah, and so the first thing I noticed in this film, because I had an idea of what, the subject matter was, which is human trafficking, but not to the extent that I was educated in this particular movie. And, being parents, now that we are parents, of course it hits closer to home, because anything dealing with child trafficking or anything that compromises children at all, we're going to be sensitive to and empathetic towards. And so, we're led into this beginning scene where we are all coerced, thinking that we're watching a modeling shoot for a commercial, children modeling, jobs. And we are sadly mistaken, as are the parents who actually experienced this. The two children, the characters Rocio and Miguel, were basically taken in this scenario,
in their own home. It was just a reminder, this can happen anywhere, anyhow. These people come to your own home, in your own safe space, and they're still able to persuade your children to go in a car and be left alone with them, and for you to trust that.
Well, they're able to persuade your children, but I was also going to persuade you.
You as a parent.
As a parent,
to agree with that, and to watch that, the way the movie started and introduced that, it made it so real. That this is happening right now today.
Because it is real.
Because it is real. And so the two actors, the children that were taken from the father, Rocio.
Well, the daughter's name in the movie is Rocio. And the son's name was Miguel in the movie, but those aren't actually based on a true story children's names, but for the sake of artistic license, I think they just gave them those Spanish names because it's set in Colombia. And that, I wasn't really well versed in understanding which South American countries were, being compromised, but that is definitely one of them.
It's a huge stronghold. When I went to Argentina, I definitely sensed that, and we wanted to visit Colombia, but we changed our mind last minute. But when the agency or the people that do this act came to the house, you could tell the father works like a 8 to 5 job or 9 to 5 job. So they didn't even know that they won't be able to come back and pick up their kids until after work. So it's a strategy that's been planned for too many times.
They prey on the vulnerable and the weak, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, was there a promise of an incentive if the child is able to excel in the business?
Oh, absolutely.
So if not, you're a blue collar worker and you're
Mhm.
looking for any way to provide for your family. Who can't relate to that? Most people are blue collar workers in this world.
Mhm.
So of course, if somebody sees potential in your children to bring them to a place where just their look alone can bring forth, more food on the table, why wouldn't you take the opportunity? But
Yeah.
not with what actually transpired at all.
Exactly. And when we arrive to the place, it's a building. He arrives, drops the kids, and they tell him to wait and not go in the actual apartment or the room.
Red flag.
Red flag.
Red flag.
He hesitates, but he's like, okay, it's part of the job.
Mhm.
No problem. I'll be back to pick up my kids later.
Mhm.
Door closes, and then we see the inside job and what they do to the kids and what they ask them to do to take photos for the human trafficking to start. Yeah.
Well, yeah, but I mean, the kids don't know the human trafficking
They have
is supposed
no
to start.
idea.
Where the kids are under the same impression we are, like, oh, okay, we see other children,
Mhm.
we're gonna have fun, and so we're not understanding how this is going to take a turn until we do, until the father returns after hours and dealing with his life and all the different obstacles that he has to face during the day, just understanding like, listen, what did I do? I need to make sure I come back and get my 2 children, only to find out that the place was completely empty when he returned. And I couldn't even imagine, that was the first teardrop, because this guy is in full despair. He's in the streets, he's running, he's trying to figure out like, why would I put my children, my seed in this position? How could I do that to myself? How could I do that to the family?
Yeah. I mean, it's sometimes difficult enough to lose something like your cell phone. And you're like, where's my cell phone? The fact he couldn't find trace even a little bit where his kids might have gone.
Can't even imagine it.
I don't know. I will pull out my hair, everything. We see this happening. He runs out of the building, and then that's how the movie was introduced to us.
Yes.
From the facts to then how it's handled in America.
Right, and we're shown several real life incidences where it happens on surveillance cameras, and the fact that this is real, it should be chilling to any human being who has a heart, The fact that people, I even saw people on moped bikes pulling babies out of the street, toddlers, unbeknownst to the parents. Maybe they turn their head for a second thinking they're safe and that child is abducted. There's so many ways that this happens, and I think it's worse in third world countries because obviously sometimes the lawlessness can be very prevalent in areas that don't have a certain type of government. So we have to be, I'm very grateful that I come from a place in the US where there are certain laws in place where that just can't happen directly, but it's happening around the world still. So we have to still be mindful and understand that we're a part of the solution prayerfully over time. But more about the movie now.
Regarding the movie, since you mentioned the US, we then learn that there is the police force who actually catch these people who are under this job, because this is a business. It's not like oh, I'm bored, let me just kidnap some kids. It's a business that goes on under the table, underground. And the US force, the police force, there's a team that actually catches people who do that every day.
Right.
And so we're led by the movie leads us to the lead actor.
It's starring Jim Caviezel, and he portrays Tim Ballard. And what this particular precinct covers is catching the peas. You know what I mean by peas. But those peas are basically under the impression that no one's going to catch them. They're doing things through a database. The technology is very sophisticated, and they can basically take these photographs that we're introduced to in the beginning of the film and sell them to other Ps so that they can either locate the children or basically sell the children off. So there's this whole situation happening. And what was alarming with one of the officers that really ignited the fire to start the driving force of the film was, okay, we're catching the perpetrators, but are we saving the children?
Yes. I think his partner, when they caught the first guy, said, I don't know how you sleep at night, but I don't think I can do this anymore. After watching the videos and what goes on, he says he can't handle it.
Yeah.
And he mentions, do you know this is just in America? How much more, like you mentioned earlier, the world, the third world countries, where the actual root of this issue starts.
Yeah. It's a big problem, and I would say this review is a spoiler alert, but the thing is, let it spoil to the point where you are actively trying to do something about it in your control. I surely know that I will try my best. As far removed that we are, we're really not that far removed. Even where we are in the world, I'm not sure what's happening to the left to the right of me nation-wise fully, and I want to continue to educate myself on that. But this was such an epiphany to watch a film like this, to see how easy access it is for adults to take advantage of minors and children like this. And, you know, as we accelerate, we start to see that thankfully Tim Ballard was backed up by his wife in this process, right?
Yeah, he felt a call. So after everyone in the movie, The Cell, he started watching these videos and he suddenly felt a nudge or call that he should be doing more than just catching the creepers who sell, who do the trafficking, but actually go to the people where the kids are, go to where the kids are and save the kids, which once again why it's called Sound of Freedom, because the movie starts with a beautiful song, the little girl playing drums and singing, and that's the sound of how children should be, just free singing, and that's what children do without the fear of this going on. So he comes home and expresses to his wife, and his wife already knows that, okay, he's had a hard time, and he expresses, you know, I feel I should be going to Colombia, and but before that, he had to talk to the man they caught who understands the job, the inside job.
Yeah,
so what does he do?
That was a really interesting take. I'm not sure how much artistic license was taken here, but what we're shown is that with these perpetrators and these offenders, he used reverse psychology on them as if he was one of them. So he posed as one of them in just this conversation. He was definitely questioned on his motives, but he was so, you know, focused on making sure that he can touch that part in them that gets vulnerable to make them feel like he's on the same page to be an abuser. Thankfully, each time it worked, and those perpetrators, you know, did not have a good enough case to express that they are not who they appear to be. And so in the two incidences that we saw, these men would meet at these different parties. They would meet in inconspicuous or even open areas just to kind of exchange, oh, well, I got this child, I have that child for you, and you know, they're ready whenever you are. And so it's a really sick game that they were playing, and thank God we have people like Tim who are on the prowl to kind of get to the bottom of it, and not without the potential of risking his own life, because you never know what people are capable of. When they're capable of evil, they're capable of to kill, destroy, just like the Bible says, right? Steal, kill, and destroy. So they're capable of all three of those things. So if you can abuse or be abusive to a child, you know, what else are you capable of? You know?
So with that said, he came into the job and he was able to rescue one of the children that was sent to America. So by the way, when the children, they're taken from their homes, then driven to some, you know, abandoned,
Well, what the process was is they were driven to like an abandoned, I would say.
What is it?
They're put on like a cargo.
A cargo, yes.
Yeah, so they're put on a cargo like any other cargo would be on a boat from one country to the next. But I believe it's to get them across the border in order to get to the U.S. And so instead of having them in proper airline, you know, airplane seats, they're just lured across, you know, the ocean to the United States,
and that's where they start trading them. So they were able to trade one of the Miguel, the little grandfather.
Yeah.
They separated the two of them. She stayed in Colombia. He continued
Right.
to go to America, where
Right.
Tim was able to track the other person who
That's
buys
right.
his kids and sells them to do these jobs. And when he caught them, they were at the border.
Yeah, he just boldly is saying, "Oh, it's my nephew, it's my nephew." But this man was someone that Tim already, was searching for within the prior investigation from the first guy who was the creeper. So it was, once again, it's a Hollywood film that's depicting real events, but I wouldn't put it past people who have these kind of motives to think that, oh, everyone's just going to take you on face value. There has to be some sort of integrity
Yeah.
being used, and people have to use their greater discernment to see, like, is that Colombian little boy his nephew?
Yeah.
Really?
Yes, exactly. So obviously he says, okay, that's him.
Right.
Then Tim spends time with this little boy. He could speak Spanish, so he was able to communicate with him in Spanish of what's going on, what happened. He starts sharing his story that I have a little sister, I'm from this place.
Yeah.
And his father obviously doesn't know that their kids are found. So they
Right.
contact the father, who flies to the States to meet Tim and obviously his son.
Yeah, and that scene was great. I mean, they were
Yeah.
just depicting kind of like the fact that Tim has a reputation in these countries to try to save these children. In fact, there was a locket that had the inscription that was given to Miguel that says Timoteo at the back of it.
Yeah.
So this was a kind of a memento to say, listen, this is the person who saves these children from Colombia and
Yeah.
other Spanish countries. And so it's
It was sort of like a confirmation for Tim that he was called to do this. What's the coincidence that the first child he saves is wearing a locket given by his sister to be safe, you'll be protected if you wear this necklace.
Right.
And then when the little boy's like, oh, your name is the same name as the locket on
That's
mine.
right.
And Tim right away, he was like, okay, light bulb.
Right.
I should be doing this.
That's
So
right.
he comes home to his, I think, 5 children.
Yes, I believe he
He has
has
his own-
5 kids. Yes.
Yeah, and talks to his wife and says, I feel I need to go to Colombia. So
And that
the
should be a
journey
lesson in just
starts.
having the person who is your helpmate to really be on board, because he felt it in his spirit. And that didn't come without obstacles. We see depicted in the movie how he had constant obstacles, people not understanding why would you put yourself at risk, because obviously it's a liability for anybody who's over you to have you in another country trying to search out things that they have never discovered in the way they had before.
Absolutely.
But had it not been for his own tenacity, who knows what would have, and his fearlessness, my goodness,
so brave, exactly.
Yeah.
So in the process, he's going, obviously there's a plan. It's not just like, I'm here to save the kids. He
Right.
makes sure to find the right people to work with. He looks the part of people in Colombia who are part of this business. And he's able to find a team to help him find the other child, the
That's
sister.
right.
He was determined to save not only the kids, but specifically the daughter, because he saw what it did, the little boy to meet his father and get reunited. He was like, that's what should be done. And so his journey starts there.
So yeah, on the island, they eventually were completely raided, and that did not come without obstacles. As we keep on recounting the different obstacles. This whole situation was a life risking kind of feat. Even a gun was pulled out on him. I'm not sure if that happened to the real Tim Ballard, but it happened in the movie, and that was like, okay, trying to protect these children.
Exactly, and that's why he was there. That was his mission. Only to find out, once everyone was raided, he found out that the actual girl, the daughter, was not in the boat.
That's right.
So he was like, no, we have to find out what happened to her. First thing he thought about was like, wow, did she die then? But then they were able to investigate and interrogate the people that they caught, and he found out she's at this island that no one goes, no man goes there. And so he was like, I'm going there, and the best way to do it is pretend we're doctors and that we're here to give a vaccine to people who are sick. And so he gets to the island. He sees Rocio for the first time, the little
Right.
girl.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
before he sees Rocio, he was almost shot to death on the boat.
Yeah.
That was a crazy scene. But yeah, he eventually bumps into Rocio, and when I say bump, he's looking actively for her in this little land, this little island that so many people are on. A lot of children are on, but she's just, I guess, stomping leaves to. I'm not sure what that act was for. What is that act for when you're stomping the leaves in an island like that?
I think it was to, what is it, prune? I don't know. To me, it just looked like people were busy, but they were not. They were moving around and really nothing was going on.
Yeah, I think there's always a function to all of the acts that people are basically, have no choice to do because they're under all types of, violence. But it was very clear that what she was doing, she will be doing for hours.
Yes.
And so when he bumped into Rocio, that's when that was a connection to her, and she
Yes.
understood that somebody was coming for her, for sure.
Smart girl. And so with that connection, he came back and said, I'm coming back to get you. We'll leave in the evening. And he does that. Gets her, jump on a boat. They run after him, you need to see the movie how it happens in details, but he's able to rescue her, and his team is waiting for him on the other side of the river. They get on the car and they finally escape.
Yeah, they barely escape,
They barely, but
by their dear lives, But, that whole scenario, it really speaks to how many people, how many men in this world are willing to do anything for their children or even someone else's children. How many people are willing to protect the future? And there's so many things happening in the world now, including this, that leads to the fact that sometimes I believe that the nature of some men, and I mean men, when I say men, I mean men and women, the nature of a lot of us can be really selfish and self-centered. And understanding that if we don't facilitate a space for the children to grow and be safe, then there will be no future generation. It will all be us trying to fend for ourselves, no one to take care of us when we're at a certain age. There's a lot there that shows a lot needs to be taken into consideration. In fact, the count right now is 27.6 million victims of human trafficking in the world as we speak, and counting. So that's pretty alarming.
That's why when people were posting this, you must see, it's a must-see movie. It's a movement. It's not just a cool movie.
No, it's not just.
Yes, Mel Gibson, you did it again, because he was executive producer, but it has a powerful message.
Yes.
And it is pushing people to take what's going on and really spread the news and do something about it. The fact that this one man, Tim, was brave to go in there and save his children. If we would clone or multiply people, like you just mentioned, honey, for us to be less self-centered and really reach out and help people who are in need, who we would never think what they're going through. People coming into their homes, invading their homes, taking them away. It's serious, and yet it is displayed like it's nothing.
And it should be telling to all of us that this movie was being suppressed. You mentioned that it was created 5 years prior to its release.
It took 5 years for it to be released.
That should be a criminal charge. It is a devastating thing to think that somebody would want to suppress, even if you felt the movie was overly salacious or completely exaggerated for Hollywood. The exaggeration is not the fact that people are still being trafficked, especially children. So we can't lose sight of the truth of the matter. And we shouldn't it should be apolitical. We should want to save our children in general. Full stop. And we just encourage all of you to watch this film and spread the word. If you have children, you will feel it like we did. And just remember that it really just takes one person to make a change, and that can be a snowball effect if the cause is big enough, or even if it's not, so to speak, big enough. If it has enough need for people, then it can be a real snowball domino effect, I should say, in terms of change. So don't despise the small beginnings of what you can do to change, whether it's giving or volunteering your
Just
time.
do your part,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Let's try to end this.
Yes.
It's we don't want to see any of the children that we create taken from us, and we don't want to see anyone else's. So it's not just about you. It's not just about us. It's about how we fit into this big puzzle called Earth. So continue to be inspired by helping another person. That's what should, I believe, keep you sleeping at night with
It brings
peace.
freedom, sound of freedom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And with that, we appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for watching this.
Yeah.
And we thank you for helping us continue to spread the word about the channel. And we hope to see you real soon.
Yes, thank you guys. Remember to subscribe and hit the notification bell.
All right, guys.
Bye. Have a good
Peace.
day.